This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, it is 6 o'clock. The meeting of the Rome City Council for March 28th, 2024. We will come to order. We do have a quorum and we have Ms. Ty online. Mr. Johnson will not be here this evening. And we'll start out with our invocation. That's Pastor Van Zant. Thank you.
You bow your head and pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day, and I thank you for everything that you bless us with. Lord, I thank you for this city, and Lord, I pray that you please us be with our public servants. Lord, especially as we're coming upon a great celebration of what Jesus did for us, I pray that you please us be with our city council, and I pray that they would just be servants to our community. Lord, I pray that you would please us be with our mayor and just allow her to be a servant to our community. And Lord, I pray that you would please us be with the first responders, and Lord, they're always servants to us, and I pray that you please just allow our citizens to be servants back to them, especially for what they do for us. I pray that you please us be with Chief Davis and Chief Estes and the Public Works Director. And God, I pray that you'll please just allow us to be giving back to them what they give back to us on a day in and a day out basis. I pray that you'll please us be with our mayor and our city administrator as well. And I pray that you'll please us to bless them and just allow this city to continue to move forward. We ask this thing in Jesus' name.
And public comments. Council is not permitted to take action or discuss any comments made to the council at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. However, they may make a statement of fact regarding the item or policy. They may also ask that the item be placed on a future agenda or direct the city administrator to contact the individual to address. Public comments require the speaker to submit the sign-up form to the city secretary prior to the meeting, are limited to 3 minutes, and the form must identify each subject the speaker plans to present. There will be no yielding of time to another person. Engaging in verbal attacks or comments intended to insult or slander any individual shall be cause for removal from council chambers. Okay, Ms. Odom?
Our first speaker is Lisa Wilson by Joanne Wilson.
Shannon, get me in order here. Mayor and council, this is for my daughter, Lisa Ann Wilson. I'm speaking for her. The topic is the Rome Volunteer Community Easter Egg Hunt. You may have heard, but we had a volunteer Easter egg hunt in our family park this past Saturday. It was a wonderful success and a wonderful turnout. Fun was truly had by all ages. I personally would like to extend a great big thank you to all that helped organize, plan, donated, volunteered to this spectacular hunt. We were very blessed to have several generous local business donations, which made Rome proud. As you longtime residents know, we have had Easter celebrations for many, many years. And we were most fortunate that even in the day we had a large turnout as well. These events were never intended to be political, nor was our recent Easter egg hunt, but to put a smile on kids' faces.
It's done. Move
A
on.
long-term citizen who attended and helped with the event also created a real video that is circulating on Facebook, and it has received so many positive feedbacks. Please take time to look for it and see what it says and who you may identify. And
I can't see it. I'm not friends with
you
that
can
woman.
see the happiness and smiles on every face. It was a wonderful thing. After viewing it, you can never say it was political. In conclusion, without the volunteer residents, churches, businesses, this successful event would not have been possible. The large amount of turnout shows that the taxpayers crave events in our park. So, City of Rome, please step up and have events and put life back into our city parks. A lot of time was spent planning this event weeks and weeks ahead of time. Our volunteer group considered it a labor of love for the kids. And lastly, a big shout out to the Easter Bunny. That's who all the kids were looking for, was the Easter Bunny. And dadgummit, they all found her on the thing. But thanks for your time and thanks for your support.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson.
Next, we have Deborah Beecraft.
I'm Deborah Beecraft. I live at 360 West 2nd. And first, I would like to thank Jesse and the Public Works for doing their job of taking care of the park for the Easter egg hunt. It was a great day. And I had heard nothing but compliments from many citizens because of the council waiving the fees after the February meeting. But then because one citizen, just one, complained, this council reversed this decision and reinstated the fees. Now all I've heard are complaints. You had the chance to have goodwill and you blew it. I know several citizens donated to help cover the fees, including Councilman Loftus and Johnson. And many citizens donated, and that was great. But for the city to hijack the event and say they were co-hosting is misleading and really just shameful, in my opinion. The citizens paid the fees while the city still collected the fees. The city was not out anything. Public Works took care of the park, and that's their job. But businesses paid for the bounce houses, citizens paid for the prizes, the fees, businesses donated prizes, and citizens worked the event. Not one employee or elected official, other than the mayor, showed up to help with the event. Not one of you, hired or elected, worked at the event. So please explain to the public exactly how the city had the right to say they co-hosted. What did the city do to help? I can answer, in my opinion, absolutely nothing. Thank you.
Next is Jeremy Find.
Good evening. I don't do this much, so you might have to bear with me to get through this. My name is Jeremy Finch, and I'm a Rome resident. I've been working for municipal water systems for 25 years. 25. I'm qualified to speak on how important this bond is to the city of Rome, water and sewer both. The city infrastructure is the most important part of our city. The most important part is that we provide safe drinking water to the public, potable. Like everyone else, I've seen the pictures inside of our tanks, especially of our elevator. It is filled with calcium carbonate. I invite y'all to look it up and see what kind of health concerns that causes. It is strongly recommended to be taken out of service, cleaned, sandblasted, epoxied, and the exterior repainted. Our treatment plant is outdated, too small, and it overflows when it rains, which, by the way, is against the law, unlawful discharge, which is a heavy fine. And that's a daily compounded interest, too. That's just not a monthly fee. That is daily. There are better treatment plants out there that use third of the power, uses more microorganisms to digest the sludge. That could be treated more sewage water. I say BOD, biological oxygen demand, than the one that we currently have. That's why we pay so much sewer rates, because cost so much to run and maintain. That sewage treatment plant, Jesus is what, 25 years, 27 years old, something like that? There you go. There you go. What if we have a fire? Are we confident enough that our water system can get the fire department get there that high can operate? Are we confident in that? You know, last council meeting, Amanda spoke of the growth that's coming to Rome. I'm currently going through that same thing with our water system. And I'm here to tell you it's coming. There's nothing we can do about it. I mean, they're already doing plans in Justin, big sewer interceptors. They don't just start laying them. Justin's in talks right now with TRA to treat their sewer because they don't have the facilities to do it. They've taken on another 7 MGD a day in Justin. All their wells are not working. They got off wells altogether. So, having said that, I'm sorry. Take my one, sir. We're exploding. I'm here to tell you it's coming. Okay. Maybe, let's spitballing here, maybe a couple more good wells, 300 gallons per minute or better. Maybe another sewage treatment plant in addition to the 2 we have. Jesus and I talked about all the I&I we have in our sewer system. That causes more infiltration, which more water we have to treat, which costs us a hell of a lot more than what we're paying now, pardon me. And all that I&I that we're taking on is a TCP violation as well. If they come and do our audit right now, we would fail, and we would fail bad. Well, currently, I understand we're in a violation with our other treatment.
Mr. Finch, they're alerting me the time's up. You're allowed 3 minutes. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ashley Major.
I'm sorry, I do have one thing for Mr. Finch. I would like to invite you to attend the town hall style meeting that we're going to have. What is the date again?
The first one is April the 3rd.
April the 3rd. We hope to see you there.
All right. I don't know how to follow up on that one. All right. All I was coming is to say thank you to the Easter egg hunt. Thank you to the citizens for putting it on. I did see a lot of smiling faces out there. It was a wonderful event. And thank you to Estes and one of the volunteer firefighters and to the 2 officers, Rex and the other gentleman that was out there that day for the kids to see the smiling faces. It was great for that as well. Also to our public works, them doing great work right now. I see that some of our surrounding cities are having a hard time, and it's great to see that we're doing well. And also to our council, if you can please support our local businesses as much as you can. I know some of them are needing all the support to help. So please keep, and citizens, if you can please support them as well. Keep our tax dollars here. We need it. We need it more than ever. Rome is growing, but we're not growing in businesses as of now. So please, passing through and tell everyone to please stop at Timeout, Carter's, QT, buy something. People are passing through to the other small towns, but have them stop here to buy something. We need it. So that's all I have to say. Y'all have a great night. Thank you, council, for what you do and giving up your time. Thank you so much.
That concludes public comment.
All right, the list that we've got for announcements, March 29th, 2024, city offices closed to observe Good Friday, that is tomorrow. Citizens Police Academy, April 2nd, the 9th, and the 16th at 6:30. April 11th, 2024, city council meeting at 6:00 p.m. April 22nd through April 26th will be early voting right here at the community center. And April 25th, 2024, city council meeting at 6:00. I too want to add my thanks to Mrs. Mize and Mrs. Wilson and Lisa Wilson, countless phone calls. I know that they started planning that Easter egg hunt right after Christmas, and a lot of work went into it, and I thought it was a great turnout.
We'll check into that, Ms. Beecraft. Thank you for bringing it up
Okay.
into our attention.
I thought about that earlier today and I thought, well, I'm sure they've already checked it out. So,
Happy to receive those and look into them prior to the meeting.
okay. And, all right. Any other announcements from council? Okay. I'll go to the consent agenda. Number one, approval of the council minutes from February 22nd, 2024, and approval of council minutes from March 14th, 2024. A motion, please.
I move to approve the council minutes from February 22nd, 2024, as well as the minutes from March 14th, 2024.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I didn't hear from Ms. Ty.
Michelle, would you like to give us a thumbs up or down on the vote?
Okay, very good. All right. And regular agenda. Number one, proclamation designating April as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and that will be Police Chief Eric Debus.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Before I jump into this proclamation, I do want to say that we have a great relationship with the North Texas Child Advocacy Center, and they are directly responsible for how we treat and take care of the littlest victims of crime in Wise County. And to that end, this is kind of a shameless plug. I'd like you to go to the Facebook page of the Rhome Police Department. Look for the post that says "Over the Edge." I will be rappelling off DATQ Stadium. It's a little high, so I'm praying that the rappel ropes holds. But this is to raise money for North Texas Child Advocacy Center. And that's who's here tonight. So let me introduce you to our special guest, Nicole Rosenbaum, the Assistant Director of Partner Relationships for the North Texas Child Advocacy Center, is here, along with Lauren Holt, who is the MDT and Community Coordinator. And then from Wise and Jack County CASA, which is court-appointed special advocates, is Lily Nguyen, and she is the outreach coordinator for CASA. So with that said, I'm going to introduce you to Nicole Rosenbaum with North Texas Child Advocacy Center.
And thank you all for having us here. We were able to be here a few months ago, and we're happy with that. As Chief mentioned, this April is Child Abuse Prevention or Child Abuse Awareness Month. And child abuse is not a comfortable topic. It's not super fun to talk about, but it is terribly important. Child abuse is the business of anybody who knows about it. It is all of our responsibility to educate ourselves, educate our children on how to keep them safe. And it really takes all of us. So I challenge you, I encourage you to reach out. You can follow us on find us on our website, cacnorthtexas.org. Reach out for education opportunities to come in, take a tour, learn more, learn how you can get involved.
So now I would invite the mayor. Would you like to read this proclamation on behalf
Sure.
of the city? Yes, ma'am.
City of Rome, Texas, proclamation Child Abuse Prevention Month, April 2024. Whereas every child deserves to grow up in a nurturing environment free from abuse, neglect, violence, or endangerment of any kind. And whereas statistics of children who are abused and neglected continue to escalate every year. Whereas the effects of child abuse are felt by whole communities and must be addressed by the entire community. Whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among the courts, social service agencies, schools, religious organizations, law enforcement, and the business community. Whereas Citizens Advocacy Center for North Texas that serves the city of Rome and all of Wise County offers many resources to help break the cycle of abuse. Whereas all citizens should become more aware of child abuse within the community and pledge to become involved in its prevention while supporting parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. Therefore, I, Mayor Patricia Mitchell, along with the Rome City Council, do proclaim April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Month and call upon all citizens to increase their participation in efforts to prevent child abuse, thereby strengthening the communities in which we live. Thank you, Pastor Van Zant, for coming. All right,
Yes,
number.
time out. I agree. We should have a photo opportunity.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, I heard you. And
Go ahead. I wish I had makeup on. Go ahead, get the city administrator. Thank you for coming, ladies. I don't have any makeup on and I'm not pretty. I'm not pretty. Thank you. And I am glad you're here. Thank you. You have great hair. Really? I think that's a good thing. You know, obviously we've got some strong parents. Very good. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. All right, number 2, Priestley property. I'm presuming that that's somebody's last name.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Mayor. We do have Mr. Priestley here along with his daughter and a representative, Mr. Tate, who is selling some property to the Priestley family. You did have considerable amount of documentation in your packet as it relates to this issue. If you will recall, on February the 22nd, we passed an interlocal agreement with Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District that when property is replatted either within the city limits or within our ETJ, that it would trigger a groundwater study. I believe when council considered this particular item, the majority of our discussion centered around this being applicable to developers or someone who was dividing into 10 or more lots. So unfortunately, Mr. Priestley is our test case of this coming forward. I have commiserated with him over that at a previous meeting, but he would like to come before council this evening to ask for a variance, and he has provided a considerable amount of information. Mr. Priestley, if you and your daughter would like to make your way to the microphone, you have the floor to speak to council.
Thanks, Amanda. Really appreciate that. And thanks, council, for having us here tonight and also listening to our concern. My name is Bobby Priestley. And as Amanda said, my wife and I are purchasing 17 acres in the far northwest corner of the Rhome ETJ. And I never thought in my wildest dreams this would be a tough process and an expensive process to actually carve out 2 acres of that 17 acres to deed to our daughter and her family. I'm here with Jenna and her husband Josiah. My wife is home babysitting the 4 grandchildren. But as Amanda said, we're here to ask tonight for you guys, for the council to grant us an exemption to the recently passed Senate Bill 2440. So Jenna and I have spent countless hours over the last few weeks talking to people here at the city, people at the county, people at the Upper Trinity Groundwater District, engineers, geologists, and well drillers. And it's been an educating experience. We've learned a lot about the Senate bill. But anyway, Jenna's had probably way more conversations with these people than I have, so I thought it would be good for you to hear firsthand some of the things that we're up against, and some of the things that we've heard. And also, I know that we passed out, or we sent the email earlier this week. We've got hard copies if anyone wants a hard copy. Does anyone need?
They generally have those
They have
now.
them?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you though.
All right. So I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to Jenna.
First time speaking as the council members. We are here requesting a waiver from Chapter 230 of Senate Bill 2440 that requires a groundwater availability certification on any land being platted or subdivided. According to the bill, a municipal authority, which would be y'all for our land, responsible for approving plats may waive the requirement prescribed by subsection A that a plat application have attached to it a statement described by that subsection if, number one, based on credible evidence of groundwater availability in the vicinity of the proposed subdivision, the municipal authority determines that sufficient groundwater is available and will continue to be available to the subdivided tract of land. And number two, that the proposed subdivision divides the tract into not more than 10 parts. We obviously are not dividing into more than 10 parts, so we're here today to present to you what we believe to be credible evidence of sufficient groundwater in the vicinity of the tract in question. According to the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District, the property is over a decent-sized aquifer. I think we sent a map that has like a red chunk on it with our property outlined on it. So you can see there we are on top of the aquifer. And then we also have an email from Jill at Upper Trinity stating that she double checked with our staff geologist and he confirmed a 200 to a 250 foot well would reach the Antler Sandstone, which is one of the formations of the Trinity Aquifer Group. This is fortunate since some areas in the county have extremely thin aquifer formations or are found much deeper, so the overall cost of the wells will be less. End quote. This map and confirmation from Jill gives evidence from a professional specializing in this area's aquifers, stating that we are positioned above a credible source of groundwater. I also included a survey or plat-looking photo of the property. I think it was in there, maybe, with the surrounding high-producing wells mapped. Our tract is highlighted, and then other wells are indicated by orange dots. As you can see, there are wells on each side of the property, giving further evidence of credible groundwater in the vicinity of the proposed subdivision. And then we also included the well reports for those wells. The more research we have done, and after speaking with experts and dignitaries, we believe that there is credible evidence of sufficient groundwater. This bill has led me to ask the question, who or what is this bill intended to protect? It led me to two logical options, water or people. I recognize and appreciate the implication of both of those intentions. I believe in good stewardship and protecting the resources that God has given us, as well as protecting people who may fall victim to someone or some entity that does not share in that sentiment. First, on water, per a phone call with Upper Trinity on March 25th, as long as each well is on a minimum of 2 acres and we are not attempting to subdivide, we could have up to 8 wells on these 17 acres without having to do this study. This would not be true if water availability were a concern in this specific area. At the end of the day, we only have to do the official subdivision and then this request for a waiver because we want to put the Thunderbird name, which is on 2 of the acres so that we can obtain a construction loan and mortgage. And then the second part would be people. We aren't developing this land to sell it. We are developing it for our families to live on. We will be raising children and animals and food for our families on this property. The last thing we would do is exploit the land or the community that we're trying to raise our kids in. We intend to steward it well and make it better than when we first set foot on it. With this in mind, we are not subdividing and selling the land, therefore passing the risk of not having water off to someone else. Ultimately, the risk is on us, and based on the credible evidence of groundwater in the vicinity of this land, we are willing to take that risk. Lastly, the engineering study is approximately $30,000, which for a developer and a subdivider, you could make it up in the profit of when you're selling the land, which we are not dividing and selling for a profit. We just want to live on a multi-generational farm and provide for our families. So the more research we've done after speaking with experts, we believe that there is credible evidence of groundwater. Ultimately, the Senate recognizes that there are instances where this certification is not warranted, so it allows the municipality to grant an exception to this rule legally. We believe our situation is exactly why the Senate amended the bill to include the ability for exceptions. We have done our research and provided evidence of groundwater in the vicinity, so we respectfully ask you, City Council, to grant this.
And just so council's aware, they have spent a considerable amount of time going back and forth with staff and Upper Trinity. I have also talked to Ms. Garcia. I invited her to be here this evening. She was not sure if she would be able to make it, but she did state that she had pretty much provided the information to the Priestley family that she would have provided to you as well. And the main reason that I'm bringing this back to council is because I don't believe that we had a good understanding of what the impact was, that we focused on the developer side of this particular requirement, and we focused on the division of this into 10 or more different subplots, if you will. So unfortunately, they are just the first person through after we pass the ILA.
Right. Well, we always say any concern is an opportunity to get better, right? And we try something once, and then we kind of have to make it better as we go along. So I think it definitely merits some discussion.
Yeah, one of the things what's going on here is that it's cheaper for these developers to come in here and drill a well per 2 acres than to actually build the water infrastructure to be provided. So they do what's cheapest for them. The intention of that regulation is to prevent that situation or give us a way to prevent it as a municipality. I think you just got caught up in the unintended consequences of this legislation.
So I think it's up to us to make it right. So we need some guidance on that.
So Mrs. Ty had some questions and wanted to know if the engineering and geological study was actually approximately 30,000. I do understand that they have to drill a test well and another well, so it's 2 drills, and it can get very expensive for that process. She also asked the question about, was this a rare occurrence, or would this happen multiple times, or developers could somehow circumvent SB 2440? And I don't believe a developer is going to come in and be able to make much of a return on anything less than 10. So I don't see this as being necessarily a circumventing type of an event. It just may be something that we may want to come back and clarify in our policy and under what parameters council wants to apply this. So that's something that we could bring back in the future. The other question that Mrs. Ty asked was, in the event that the Priestleys did sell the property and a developer wanted to come in and replat, would it trigger a study at that point? And yes, it would. Anytime it changes hands, or anytime it is replatted, it triggers a new study.
It's in our authority.
Yes, you can waive the requirement for the groundwater study as stated in our ILA with Upper Trinity, but that is at council's discretion.
Pardon?
Yeah, I would actually suggest this isn't really even a problem. The legislature actually gave the tool that is designed for this specific circumstance. So all I would suggest is that you just make sure when you make a motion to waive the requirement, you specify the property, because the waiver will only go to that property. You're not waiving this requirement as a total. It's just to that very specific property.
Do we need the formal name of the property, or is Priestley property?
Well, that's a great question that I'm going to defer to your attorney.
I think I gave the surveyor how we're going to have it platted, and it's going to be called Someday Farms. So that's the name of the tract, that it's Someday. So I don't think we've been given the actual, we haven't got the actual survey, the final survey yet, so I don't have it. But that's how Clint was going to be naming the tract of land.
You guys have a copy? Why don't you just refer to this? We'll mark this for the record. And Shane, if you'll put this on the record, just make this Exhibit A to their motion. And then I would reference this and just say that you're granting the waiver as requested for the property designated on Exhibit A. Will that, unless you've got
Let's
a,
go fast before
No,
I
I think
forget.
that's fine. I think that's a great, that survey that you have in your hand there, that's the survey that I believe Mr. Tate did like a couple or 3 years ago. But that's the tracking layer.
you don't have a meets and bounds description or anything?
Not yet.
Attached.
The surveyor's working on it right
Okay.
now.
I
Yeah.
think that works.
All right. So thank you, Priestley's, for your input and your feedback. And so I think we have some work to do going forward and as a council, but for the time being, I move that we waive the requirement for the property indicated on Exhibit A in our packet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
You're very
Really
welcome.
appreciate it.
And I bet you're a really proud dad too.
Very good. And welcome to Rome. We'll be glad to see you guys around town. Okay, good.
All right. And number 3, text dot letter for Bywell Estates, and this will be Councilmember King.
Hi, yes, good evening. We have talked repeatedly about the struggles that we have with transportation. Sorry. We have talked repeatedly as a council about the struggles with the transportation and the concerns in our area, specifically concerns on 114 at Alliance Boulevard. And so, as a council, I believe a couple months ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, that Ms. DeGan brought forth a draft of a letter, and I asked that we see if we could just revise it a little bit. So I'm bringing to council today the revised letter that I shared with Ms. DeGan that I would propose that we present as a unified front to TxDOT.
Mrs. King, just for clarity, I didn't have some of the numbers that you asked us to drop in as it related to the number of homes. I was able to find a daytime traffic count on the TxDOT website that indicated approximately 30,000 vehicles in that area each day. So I did put that information in. I just had to put several residential homes just so that you know those were the 2 areas that you had left blank for us. You'll also notate on the back or the second page of the letter that it does have the signature line for each council member because that was one of the requests that you all had that would show, I guess, more of you in number. If all 6 of you sign the letter, that may help move TxDOT to put this to a higher priority list on their action plan.
I said reading over this, I don't have anything to add. I think this looks great.
Need a motion to approve? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the letter for TxDOT.
I second motion.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. All right. Number 4, Northwest ISD Spring Event Partnership, and that's also Councilmember King.
Okay, we spoke at the last council, well, we've spoken at several councils about our community and upkeeping certain areas that are common spaces, some of them on City of Rome property, and some of them being things like entries into subdivisions. For example, my own Chisholm, that we don't have a neighborhood association. However, and there's, other than the school district on the one side and the other side, I don't know who owns that property, but there's no one right there to really care for that. So we've talked about how moving forward without utilizing necessarily city funds that we can help maintain some of those areas. And so the opportunity that I saw through the Northwest ISD news was for the big event, which the big event is a student-led volunteer, the largest nationwide student-led volunteer day. And it takes place this year on April 27th, which is a Saturday. And so we have submitted Amanda and I submitted a request to see if we could get some volunteers out. So this is where our high school kids are coming out and joining our community and joining our city staff in kind of helping to maintain some areas. So getting a little more skin in the game from all sides. And so we have just been approved for that, I believe. And so I think the Eaton Eagles, pardon me, the Eaton Eagles high school football team will be helping us with
The Veterans Park, the Family Park.
the Veterans Park and the Family Park, so doing some volunteering there.
Do you know, will they bring their own tools? Do we need to provide those?
We'll provide what we can. I don't know that if we want them to bring something, I think we can request that they do.
Okay, I'll check into that with Corey. Great, okay.
We need any other action?
All right, number 5, outsourcing job duties, and that's Councilmember Loftus.
Ms. DeGan, as I recall, the last meeting, you mentioned that the Rome ETJ is 19 square miles. Is that correct?
That's what I have found, yes.
Okay. I'm just going to try to frame this a little bit in our future. 19 square miles is about 12,000 square acres, 12,000 acres. So when you look at a situation where I've seen population growth information all the way out to 2080, in 2080 they are saying we will have 10 plus people per acre in this area. Now, that's way out there, 2080. But let's bring that in a little closer to 2040. It's only 16 years away, folks. And in that case, according to their population numbers, they didn't really have a population density map, but according to the numbers, it would put us at 4 or 5 persons per acre. Let's say they're wrong, and we only get 3. Then in 2040, we're going to have a city about the size of 36,000 people. And so when I look at other cities that I've lived in, just for comparison, I was wondering, well, how many employees do they have? And just on their phone roll, they have 80 to 100 employees for a city of 36,000. And then I turn my mind and my thoughts to what I've observed here in the recent past, where I have observed 3 different situations of what appeared to be a possible non-compliance issue with hiring and firing of employees that in that 3 years potentially cost the city $250,000. And so I begin to wonder, if we had a third party that with more experience at dealing with human resources, that we should consider that just to avoid compliance issues. HR regulations change all the time. Avoid compliance issues going forward in the future. Also possibly taking advantages of other services they might offer, such as timekeeping, simple day-to-day operations, things that could relieve tasks that are going to increase over the next 16 years dramatically if that intended growth happens. So that's kind of where I'm at, why I brought this up, and my thoughts behind it. And so HR is just one thing. There could be other things. I'm just asking everyone to give that consideration. And do you have any other input? And is this something we should direct the city administrator to check into, see what's available in the marketplace?
Amanda, I know you attend conferences and things, so I'm sure that there are other small communities similar to Rome. Are you familiar with any outsourcing solutions? I want to be cautious because I do know And I have every confidence in you as a city administrator and in your team. So I do not believe that some of the instances that Mr. Loftus is referring to, I don't have that concern. I don't go to bed at night worrying about that. However, I do also see his point. And if not HR, I think we've even talked about an accounting firm that's kind of separate, anything that would help support and be really a cost-effective way to take some things off of your plate, while making sure that we're handling our business.
So just by way of comparison, the city I worked for previously, we always look for what's called a public-private type partnership through a variety of methodologies. We may not have been in direct service provision for a lot of different areas. A lot of the internal work, when you're a very small city, even if you have to outsource it to someone, you still have to oversee your contractor or your vendor. And if they're not in-house, sometimes you do lose a certain measure of control over their work product and their timeliness in responding to your needs. I think it's a great idea to look at that at every aspect just to see what might be applicable and might be helpful to us so that we are not incurring a full-time staff member with all of the ancillary oversight and benefits issues that come with it unless it's 100% warranted. I'm generally a little slow in administration to add staff just because I think there are times when we can shift some things around or we can do some process improvements. There are some things, for instance, I've talked to you about that I'd like to outsource as it relates to utility billing. We still have a utility billing manager who is printing, folding, and putting stamps on postcards every month, and it is a major time consumer of the things that she has to do. So there are some things that I'd like to see us institute along those lines. I'm perfectly happy to look into an HR solution that might be workable for us and see what the cost may be. Currently, the majority of the HR duties are handled by our city secretary. So we've been fortunate that Shayna has taken an interest in that and that she has done very well in keeping all of our records straight and making sure that we are meeting all of our legal requirements as it relates to payroll and documentation and the IRS, et cetera, et cetera. So I can look into that. I'll need some direction on how quickly you want me to look into this. We have several other projects that are bubbling at the moment, and it might be difficult for me to get this fit in anytime in the near future.
I view this as more of a little longer term task,
Okay.
simply because of what you're saying. We've got a lot on our plate right now anyway, but it's just going to get worse, is my opinion. So if we do get someone from HR, I will advise them that this job right here, it's terrible, and it has a lot of long hours, and the pay is terrible.
As a council member, I can completely understand that for you, yes.
Go to number 6, flag purchases for the Veterans Park, city use, and the city administration.
So you all will find at your place a rendition or a photo of something that I have in mind that we have used. I've used at a previous city that I worked for, that Mr. Dominguez and I went out and looked at the Veterans Park and identified 6 different areas where we could potentially post these type of flags in that area during special events like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, July 4th, or any other dates as determined by council. I'd also like to look into posting 3 of those at the police department and 8 of them along the front here of the old school and the fire station, just to help draw tourism and folks to our community and to kind of lend that type of sense of community to Rome. We do have hotel motel tax funds that, if they're being used to generate tourism and can be reasonably linked to such of an effort, that money can be expended from there. So I'm asking council if that is something that we could approve. It is not budgeted, but those funds are sitting there. We have well over $100,000 in that account, and I would propose not to expend any more than $2,500 for the variety. If we have to buy them from a vendor, they're about $150 a piece. However, I have reached out to one of my sources and they have given me the list of supplies that we need to build these ourselves. So that might be something that we could do as well, which might cut that down considerably. But since it's not budgeted, I'm bringing it to council. We also took some criticism, rightfully so, last year on Facebook that Veterans Day, the Veterans Park at a certain holiday was not well represented, and we weren't well represented amongst the community as it related to that type of a patriotic event. So this is one thing that we can do that is relatively low cost, relatively low impact to the staff, but would mean a lot to some folks in our community. We do have a large number of veterans that live in Rome.
I'd almost like to see, so would these be permanent?
No, sir, these would come up and down for special events. They call them avenue flags. So you take them up and down, and then you fold them away and put them up a couple of days before, take them down the day after, and then you use them throughout the years.
So I'll say, could we make a permanent spot for them? Is that kind of where we're going?
It's possible. I think some of the ancillary issues with lighting and staff requirements is probably going to put that out of our reach right at the moment. We do what we can to take care of the flagpole that we have in front of City Hall and some of the other spots.
This makes me think of some other cities. Like I know one, Casey, where you work, that several of the neighborhoods have them going down along in front of the parks and things. So he has a vision now. He's got a picture in his head. I do like the idea of purchasing the flags, and I also love the idea of, okay, if we're going to have flags and have some, give some honor and decorum to these events and these special days, that these also might become the focus for city events moving forward. Maybe these days are some days that we want to really do something special.
I do know the Rome Veterans Group does already have some events, so we can talk to them about what that looks like. But yes, this is definitely something that we would want to look at being a part of as the city, as a co-sponsor or as a sponsor on our own.
All right, I move that we use approximately $2,500, not to exceed $2,500 of the hotel motel tax funds to promote visitors to the Park City for the purchase of flags.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Council.
And executive session, do we have Prairie Point tonight?
Do not have Prairie Point, but there is
Okay,
another
I see
item
the
on
other
there.
one. Yeah, I just didn't know if I needed to read that one too. All right, section 551.074 personnel, discuss appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or hear complaint or charge against officer or employee in executive session unless officer or employee requests a hearing. It'd be city secretary. And it is 6:53. We'll convene into executive session at this time.
This conference will now be
From
recorded.
executive session back into regular session. Yeah, we've got two things on that. I believe we're going to change the council meeting from the 25th of April to the 18th of April. We'll need a motion on that.
Mayor, I motion to move the April 25th meeting date to April 18th as a special session.
One second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Good. Okay, and then the other thing is, motion to accept the formal resignation of City Secretary Shayna Odom. Her last working day will be May 24th, 2024.
All right. I move that we accept the resignation of Ms. Odom, City Secretary, effective May 24th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Council would also like to provide direction to city staff to post Shayna's position and take steps to bring candidates back to council.
But I don't think we need a motion on that. Okay. Future agenda? Nothing? Okay. And motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.